Hi, people in Seattle. Heather McHugh here, sending my coronavirus era greetings. I'm not a city slicker anymore myself. I moved out to the country, but I'm still on the shores of the Salish Sea that laps at your feet as well. And I wanted to send a little message of solidarity in all this lapping. Uh, Time seems a little strange now. One of the virtues I think of all of us being stuck at home is we learn how many things, once we're outside of our practice circuits, how many things we can be bad at. I'm bad at this because for 55 years I didn't even talk on a phone. I really hated being at the beck and call of media, and I'm too self-conscious for the visible ones, the visual ones. I just have to keep avoiding looking at the screen or else I fuck up. um, but I really wanted to send you a message. Okay, so I was about to send you a message, but then I smelled a pie burning upstairs in the oven, and I had to rush up and rescue it and face another of my disasters. Um, so that I could return to this one. um, though it's meant well, I do want to just give you big virtual hugs. Threatening though that sounds, the virtual is intended. Um, it's a weird time, the way, in a way, the way poetic time is, that sort of moment in which its subdivisions are not clear anymore. In many ways, I've always been writing about our mortality. We're collectively more preoccupied with it right now, and many of us poignantly, individually, more than preoccupied, post-occupied with it. We all will be occupied with it physiologically, and we just are, when we're healthy, we can forget it, I guess. Poets are never healthy. They don't forget it. In a way, that's always the submerged topic. This poem I wanted to read you comes from Muddy Matterhorn, the book that Copper Canyon, a wonderful little poetry press here in Port Townsend, is about to put out. Thank you. Sorry, my footrest moved. It's the muddy has to go with the Matterhorn because in the poem it's a metaphor for me. Whatever peak of accomplishment I was supposed to have reached, I had to sling a few handfuls of besmirching at, as if it, as if I had any purities to trot out anywhere. It seemed important to remember the humus we come from as critters. This poem is about very particular hospitalizations and deaths, and both of my parents are dead now, but many of you will be, if you haven't already will be facing that intimate experience. This poem was originally written for my brother and sister, but you guys are my brothers and sisters. In a sense, I've been spending more time with you, the ones who are interested in poetry. I've always spent a lot of time with you, though I was alone in my room. My brother and sister are pretty far flung, and our family was never very close, or we scattered early. But they were embroiled in this particular moment that I write about here, and now it occurs to me that it's all of our moment in an odd way. There are particulars you'll see, but it's with that sense of fraternity or fellow feeling that I read this one now. Here it is coming at you. It's called Wandering at Night. God, a dog, they say, big deal, get over it, okay? Worse than a dog is how my drunken mother said my father, all but dead in the hospice ward where she knew better than to visit him, was being treated by his kids, though all she knew of it was my report each night before I crashed at the hotel. That night I'd said we'd like her help with the obituary. That was all the trigger was. But really what she meant was she felt like a dog herself. He dumped her once upon a time, and then when wife the second died, he came again to ask her hand. As she was 9 years younger, she could see what that entailed. With righteous indignation, she said no. And really what she meant was she was terribly afraid of her own death, as well as his, afraid that she'd become, in her imagination of our own imaginations, something to neglect. In fact, was sad for him and for herself, who'd wound up left out, riddled through and through with anger and with guilt, unconsciously unkind. The course of aging's not a cruise, a friendly sky, a warmer toddy, it's a grind. Until it dies, a body loses sleep. We're born to lose the everything in mind we meant to keep. I loved the dog beyond, as sensible accounts would say, all reason, poured into the vessel of his patient, bestial regard were all my sediments of sentiment, my heaviness of love. His belly hung its weighted hammock from the tent poles of his hips. He groaned when he lay down, and after 2 long seizures, when he most required to sleep, we mercifully arranged for him to die. Oh, brothers, fathers, sisters, mothers, one cannot seem to love oneself as such, only as others. Here's sending you love out there, people. Stay hale and hearty and know you're not alone.